On today's episode of Unbinged, we are talking about Alien Earth episodes 1 and 2. We're going to discuss how this relates to the Alien movie canon, theories about these corporations and what's really going on, and we're going to talk about the hybrids, the cyborgs, the synths, and of course, the beautiful, beautiful xenomorph. All that and more on an all-new episode of Unbinged, starting now.
This is your official spoiler warning. If you haven't watched Alien Earth, stop and go watch both new episodes right now because we're about to spoil everything for you. And if you haven't done a deep dive on the movies, go ahead and watch those too because it's fun and you'll like the show better.
Guys, one of the first things that was talked about a lot as this show was coming out was that Noah Hawley was not going to be, I guess, including canon in this show. Not necessarily that he was retconning it or changing things. As a big fan of this show, or excuse me, of this series here, this canon, Samantha, I called you full name, government name. Sorry for that.
You government named me.
Is this a good decision? Like, should he be including more stuff, or does it kind of feel like, hey, it's okay for the show to be self-compartmentalized?
Based on watching these first two episodes out the gate, I feel completely fine with whatever direction he wants to take this because there is enough of original Alien in this, not only to sustain the world that he is bringing us further into, but to keep us asking questions, to keep building off of. I think he's done a really good job of taking what the original was, first movie, and building off of it. There's little nods to the other movies in tiny ways, which I do appreciate, and as any nerd would appreciate going into something, building off of something they love, happy about it. But he's done an amazing job, episodes 1 into 2, that sets us up for an amazing series. So I am not left wanting, and I'm just ready to enjoy the ride.
Yeah, to me, this is...
Yeah, I'm loving this.
Sorry.
Go off.
I was going to say, to me, this is almost a non-factor because if you really think about it, the events of Prometheus and Covenant, how many people actually know what happened in universe, right? How many people know that David went rogue and did all this crazy shit and that Wayland was on a secret mission to find immortality and find the engineers? So I think it's perfectly fine that the events of those movies aren't referenced in this show at all because seemingly they were secret missions. And it seems like Wayland Yutani is so big at this point that they can kind of do multiple crazy missions, like Wayland going to try to find the engineers and this ship going on a 65-year research mission to try to find, creatures from across the universe. So I think they're doing so many things. They have so many hands in the pies that it almost doesn't matter that the canon-ness of those Covenant and Prometheus aren't mentioned in the show. I think we're not going to really feel the effects of that.
I agree. Because it's off-world. Who really knows what happened with them?
Right.
And I like that before the show, Alfredo, you sent us this kind of timeline of all of the movies as well. And I think that you can go back and forth and make little explanations and reasons why A isn't necessary and why B isn't necessary here.
Right. And if
Timeline-wise, entered the chat.
Timeline-wise, this is the third entry in the series, if you will. It's after Prometheus and Covenant, but before everything else. So it can really establish its own canon within this show.
Yeah, my thing is I just didn't want to retcon. I'm like, I don't want to relearn stuff. And but at the same time, I love the sci-fi factor to where you're thinking about constant moral dilemmas. Seeing something like a synth where you have a Deus Ex Machina scenario in here, and then let's just set an over and under how many times I bring up Ghost in the Shell while we watch this. This is straight up Ghost in the fucking Shell again, guys. To where what is humanity after you put someone inside a synth? And they even mention some of the things that make them human, like dread. A lot of that's kind of gone. They're like, oh, it's all white noise. Like, it's like these kids are on Molly. Like, nothing feels bad anymore. Everything's just a fucking vibe. So
but you know what, I was like weirded out by that because they did say that without the hormones there's no moods, but like these kids are still showing emotion. Like the Wendy character still does seem to have like sadness and excitement and things like that. Was I the only one thinking that?
It's just muted.
No,
That's the
it's
Ghost in the
muted, but it's
Shell
also those
point
are
that I wanted to bring up is because
Okay.
I think there's
yeah,
And
they are saying that you shouldn't have emotion, but because you've created something and that has emotion and you put it in something that's capable of so much with AI that naturally you create what's called a ghost. Sorry, Sam, I didn't mean.
but
No, I think that's a lot of what I was going to say too, just in terms of these are also big emotions. And as a child, it's hard to diminish those natural big emotions from things. So there's some things that I think hormonally, yes, you can be moody about things, but you don't necessarily need hormones to see something and make it feel sad, especially because they have supercomputers in their brains that are computing at a faster rate and that can learn these things very quickly, especially learn off of other people's emotions and learn off of other people's facial reactions.
So that feels like the logical explanation. My explanation of it is more so, what kind of monster did they cook up in that lab? Like, I don't think they even quite know like what these hybrids are, because there's that moment where she's able to, I don't know, like almost integrate with tech and take over it as her brother is talking to a bot. And Boy Cavalier is kind of like, did we do that? Did we give her that ability? Did we teach her that? Like, how, I don't
Yeah.
think they quite know. So I think they're saying all the things of like, hey, this is how this system or this thing is supposed to operate. But because of the human nature of it, it's not going to operate the same way they want it to, like it would if it was just an actual machine, an actual synth.
Yep, God from the machine, man. You made something. You made Frankenstein, and now it's out of your hands. You know, you just like
Mhm.
and it's crazy. The synthetics are the only ones who understand that. And like, not to bring it back to Prometheus, but he's just like, huh, if I do this one little thing, I wonder what's going to happen. And then he's just watching and observing. Whereas I think human nature, we always think we're in control, but in all reality, we're never really in control. We're just interacting with an environment and hoping to survive.
I believe that's called
That's
hubris.
100% this Boy Cavalier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's in
Who
yeah.
embodies that.
The downfall of humanity is our own hubris, and that's what this entails. Is because at the end of the day, I think it was Kirsch that mentioned it when he's talking to Wendy on the flight over, where he's like, you know, you used to be food, but then you convinced yourselves you weren't because you took yourselves out of that chain, right? But now we're reintroducing these creatures like the xenomorphs, who are true apex predators and will tear us apart in seconds, as we saw in that dinner party. And so it's reintroducing that.
Sorry, the dinner
was
party was
great.
awesome.
That was crazy.
Dinner party was so
That
crazy.
half bottle. Anyway, so
Homie answers the door in a powder white wig.
if
If
it
it's
was,
at all serious, Boy Cavalier will call me.
yeah, that shit was ridiculous.
I just thought if It's Always Sunny, they're like, yeah.
with the teeth whistle.
Oh my God.
But I love how this series and this show, I think in particular, is really reintroducing that fear into the hubris of humanity. It's like, hey, you may have the technology, but you're still at the end of the day just a meat sack.
There's
Well, it's also
go Sam, go.
no, I was just gonna say it's funny because there's a lot of different mirroring things in this show that bring it back to why we always end up here as a society, as people, and different things. And I like the really good baseball callbacks because it's America's greatest pastime, much like hubris of humanity is
Boring
Fuck it is.
pastime.
our own greatest pastime. It's our greatest pastime is finding new ways to destroy ourselves
There
and
you
each
go.
other. And all of that gets tied back together. So I think that there's just lots of little elements through that do really good in terms of layering story here, but just mirroring it back to you, but not in a way that's egregious.
Yeah,
What-
baseball's America's pastime, as in I like to pass over it and find time doing something else.
Yeah, not so much baseball. This show did a really good job here with this first episode, where they essentially, without having to even acknowledge the previous movies, were able, I mean, they did in a way, like, right, everything felt very alien adjacent from that first film, but they were able to build out and even expand on the alien verse a little bit right here in this first episode, give us a massive expo dump of all these companies, what, like the state of the world at this time, what's going on with the synths, the cyborgs, every single different piece of this story. And it didn't feel overdone. It really felt like we were I mean, very similar to a lot of movies lately, we're getting dropped into the middle of a story. We're not having to do the whole origin. Like they gave us the cliff notes. That's becoming a thing. Are you guys noticing that, by the way? We got that in Superman a little bit, where it's just like, hey, let's give you the opening crawl of this is the setting. We don't need to take it so slow.
Mhm.
I'm curious because I know that with Noah Hawley, he does tend to start out shows a little slow. This almost feels fast for him and feels fast for TV in general. Like we just got thrown right into the shit.
It's a throwback to Greek epics that the writing style called in medias res, where you just thrown into the middle of things. That's what
Yep.
that Latin
It's like
term
Star Wars.
means. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I love starting things like that. Like I think one of my favorite movies, Drive, there's like zero dialogue. You're right in the middle of like a bank robbery, and like that's it. It's to where like instead of presenting questions or already giving me things, it lets me have a question, and that question drives the plot for me. And as long as they keep feeding me info and it's paying off, I'm here for it. And that's what they keep doing. Like I'm upset this is the one FX Hulu show where they didn't drop the whole fucking season, because I'm just ready for the rest of it. So
And speaking of world
Same
building,
for the rest of it.
yeah. Speaking of world building, I think one of the central themes of the original series, Alien and Aliens, is the underlying almost class warfare of it all, where it's like you have the labor versus the company. And we see that again in this show, and it's almost like a throwaway line by after the ship crashes. Boy Cavalier talks about triage based on like income level, basically. And so it's like prioritize the wealthy. And so again, it just goes, it's baked into the DNA of this show that it's you know, it's the working class versus the upper class at all times. And I love that they're continuing to bring that back into the series, because that's such a vital part of the original. And I think without that, it becomes a hollow story, just a baseless sci-fi show, whereas this really has some actual consequences. We're seeing the people on the ground affected by these decisions from the company, and how is it going to fuck over the earth as a whole, and what the implication is of a loose xenomorph in the world.
Do you guys like that this show, for being what it is and being so different and being about a xenomorph and crazy future, it is hitting really close to home? Like it just really is, where it's still, there's classism, there's companies ruling the world. I mean, we've got 5 companies, 5 major corporations here. Really, from what I've seen,
Trillionaires.
3 of them have been mentioned. I don't know who the others might be, but we've got Weyland-Yutani, Dynamic, and Prodigy. And Weyland-Yutani is known to be the owners of Mars, Saturn, and then of course North and South America. They're collecting them like Pokemon cards. Like it's just Earth that gets split up here. Prodigy seems to have Thailand, and they have their Neverland Research Island, which there's a lot of questions about that there. But
Creepy.
this is hitting so close to home. How did you guys feel about this being something that's so similar when really we're supposed to be in a whole world that's very different from our own?
It's
I
Steve's
think the most
capitalism.
interesting I think the most interesting factor is the rules that we have with the xenomorph. What was so dangerous about it is you couldn't just blast a xenomorph, because the
Acid
blood
blood.
would go straight through the hull, and you're just going to compromise your ship. You no longer really have that rule, and we've kind of seen that in Alien Covenant, but we've never seen it in the sense to where you have all these people here. This, to me, this is like Predator 2, but with Alien, and like an entire show. So like how many people are just going to die by just trying to like shotgun blast this thing and getting sprayed by acid? And really, if there's these other aliens going out, how does this affect? And I'm kind of setting you up, Alfredo, for a theory that you brought up. How is this effect going to work in our environment? Because there's just no way that this is going to get contained. You've got this one angry ass cyborg.
Contained.
Yeah, it's already out of containment. Like
Yeah.
you got the one cyborg trying to do his job. He was only trying to do his job with the xenomorph. He didn't give a fuck about Eyeball Jonesy
Blood
over there
bugs.
and fucking Leech McGee. He didn't give a shit about that. He just wanted a xenomorph.
Okay, I petition for Jagger to be in charge of naming the creatures from now on, because all of these are better than
I'm
Face
for
Hugger.
it.
Yeah.
I still like Facehugger.
No,
That's good.
well, I didn't rename a face hugger. I just like that. That's already been named.
That's classic. Man. That's 40 years baked in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously.
So one thing, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned it here, Jagger, with all these, so there's all these different creatures, right? Like, I think that lends itself to something even more because on this very long, what, like 60 plus years exploration in deep space, they're out here collecting all these creatures, which I'm assuming are all coming from different planets, different places.
Right.
Yes.
I was gonna say I had the same thought. Like, is they had to have stopped at different planets to collect these. They couldn't have all come from the same environment.
Right. And so like it feels very intentional with everything that they're doing there. Not just, go and find us XYZ, bring it back, we're going to study it and we're going to make humanity better.
Weaponize it.
This really does feel like a corporate warfare. So my theory on this is that the real plot here and the reason it's called Alien Earth is not just because the alien crash lands on Earth and that's the setting of it. It's because I think that Earth becomes really a true war zone for these corporations, and that Weyland-Yutani already has the advantage in the space race. Like I mentioned before, they have Saturn, they have Mars, they have North and South America, and like we already see it here when the ship does crash land in Thailand. Like they're not even allowed to go and get their own stuff. Like Earth really is, yeah, cough.
Is that so? I was trying to figure that out. Is that because Prodigy owns that city? Like that's Prodigy City that they
Yes.
run in. Okay, gotcha. I wasn't sure if that was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what.
I mean, is that not all that different from now? Like, if a U.S. ship crashes in Russia, like Russia's not gonna be like, "Yeah, come get your boys."
Well,
No, they're like, "This is
Yeah.
ours." Tough.
not
titties.
a company like a Russian company's not going to be like, "This is ours." The Russian government maybe.
But this isn't. Yeah, but these companies replace
governments
government.
are companies.
Yeah. You got to think about it, Koff. It's like you already said the joke, late stage capitalism, dog. This is post like late stage
yeah.
capitalism. Like they already like Luthor won, fucking Mr. Terrific died and was replaced by another Luthor. Brainiac
Maxwell
is
Lord.
yeah, exactly. All the worst people
Mhm.
won. That's so and
This
you
is
got to be like
Elon's
okay with
dream.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that like government and corporation are the same thing, and we already seen that in Star Wars with corpos and stuff like that.
Good point.
Weyland-Yutani is Amazon, Dynamic is Meta, and Prodigy is Tesla.
Oh God,
We're fucked.
that feels
We're all
really,
fucked.
really real. Yeah, we're pretty fucked.
We're there, guys.
The we really are. The reason that I bring
Bleak.
this up too is I think that a lot of the focus, of course, is going to be like there is a dichotomy here between, because I think a lot of the focus is going to be on the xenomorph, the alien, and how horrifying it is, but maybe we're not paying enough attention to some of these other creatures because the xenomorph is what we've come to know and love and fear. These other creatures seem equally as dangerous. You got this eyeball tentacle thing that can control bodies however it fucking wants to. We got the
He's a
blood
puppet
slug.
master.
Yeah, like they're and the thing is, like, the fact they went out and got so many different things, they call it like the zoo, right? It's not just for one creature to come out here and wreak havoc. It does seem like a hey,
A
let's get
menagerie.
as much as we can and let's start to it almost feels a little Jurassic World. What is it? Dominion? What's the last one? Fallen Kingdom? Whichever one it is.
Rebirth.
Dominion?
Rebirth. Oh, let them out.
No,
to the
no,
world?
not that one.
Yeah,
The one
Dominion.
The bad
The-
one,
yeah,
the real
the
bad,
bad one where like the corporation is
One
trying
that
trying to
sucked.
destroy crops. Like they're literally trying to fuck
Yeah,
over the
it's
earth
Dominion.
so that then people are reliant on them. And that's what this feels like with Weyland-Yutani
Mm-hmm.
is let's destroy the earth with these creatures. People are going to want to go live in our bases that we have in Mars and Saturn and everywhere else. We're already ahead in the space race. And this is essentially going to bankrupt all these other companies that have invested so much in Earth. You've got Prodigy out here trying to make hybrid humans. Well, guess what? Fuck those hybrid humans. They're not going to have the rights to go and live where we want. They've got to live wherever Prodigy is. And if Prodigy's here on Earth, fuck them. They're done too. And I think it's an interesting dichotomy where Weyland-Yutani is destroying Earth, destroying humanity, and Prodigy is telling themselves, we're making humanity better, when really it's just this selfish boy cavalier. It's like, I want to have a good conversation. Is that too much to ask for?
It's not about the
While he
money.
You're
holds his
smart,
fucking
About the
iPad
money.
with
but you're
his
not
feet.
smarter than me. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, what a fucking little.
Whenever
cunt.
somebody says it's not about the money, it's about the money. That's
Yeah.
come on.
I don't know. I wouldn't trust someone that holds their iPad with their feet. I'm
Yeah,
just going to
true.
say that.
So speaking of Alfredo, that's literally so many companies do that though, where it's like they create a problem because they have a solution or they think they do, and then they're like, we're the saviors. Whereas I wonder if they're playing this in a way where they're going to try to blame Prodigy for this incident. and be like, they didn't allow us in to contain it, and that's why everything got loose, and blah 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 blah. And that's how they
That's a good one.
undermine their
Yep.
they undermine their competition while creating some devastating consequences. So I could absolutely see it being, maybe not the entire Earth being destroyed, because that seems pretty fucking crazy, but
Not
absolutely
destroyed,
destroying.
but definitely like a place you don't want to live. Like that's
Inhabit.
bad
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
estate.
Yeah, you take out your your competition's headquarters in Thailand, so you basically nuke Thailand with an alien, and then nobody wants to live there, and it banks up, like you said, banks up the company. I think that's a good theory. I think it's solid.
Did it. Good theory.
It's corporate
Yay me,
espionage
gold
on a
star.
level we haven't seen since Severance.
And
And
I'm
speaking
curious,
of Severance,
like,
did you guys see Ragabi?
yeah, she's still fucking around with technology that you probably shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime you see her Gabi, guys, you know it's a bad time.
She's up to some shisty shit.
Yeah. And I'm curious to where, like, what's the least popular? Like, cyborgs don't seem to be cool. And I think it's because obviously you're probably giving up humanity. Like, it probably does something
Yeah.
because, like, Mora was just like the species are the mission, and was like literally humming a song while like
Yeah.
homegirls getting murdered back there. You
Screaming.
know,
Oh,
yeah.
terrible.
So I mean, I'm curious to what
So
all these
cool.
side effects are and if they get explained. You know,
I had a theory though. I think Muro may actually be secretly a synth, and everyone was told he was a cyborg because he seemed to be the captain of the ship. So I wonder how many like actual humans, if they were told, "Hey, the synth's going to be the captain," they'd be like, "Fuck you! I'm not doing that." They're fine with him being a science officer. So I wonder if they were like, here's your captain, he's a cyborg, to explain, his arm and shit, but he's actually a synth, because he definitely acts more like a David or an Ash, where everything comes down to the mission is priority, even including tying those two dudes up in the lab and letting them get desiccated by the blood bugs. So I don't think he's human at all. I don't think there's an
I
ounce of
actually
humanity in him.
what I disagree with is that he doesn't have a curious mind. He follows orders. Like
Yeah.
David and Ash, and they play jazz to where they're like, obviously they were following orders, but they were always comfortable sitting
Learning.
back, observing what happened, and then reacting. Whereas Homie was just a fucking Terminator the entire
This
time.
is
Just like,
Yeah, but remember, this is a model from 65 years ago. This wasn't an advanced model like
he feels a
Ash.
little more mercenary than anything.
yeah.
Like
Right.
this is because if he is a cyborg, right? And you talked about how people aren't respecting cyborgs because they feel like maybe they've given up on their humanity. That probably is what plays into it. This is a person who has maybe given up on his own humanity. He's just following the people that made him a cyborg. Like he doesn't give a shit. Because like I don't was he the captain? Because he didn't seem to have like
He was the one giving
or
orders.
well respected.
He was the one giving orders when they came out of Cryo.
Okay.
He's the one that had access to
Yeah.
Mother, which is only a captain thing, or the first officer.
Yeah.
It actually moves down to who dies as well.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like because he's
Yeah.
the head of security. So like essentially, if like you lose the captain, Ragabi was, I'm assuming, the science officer.
Science officer.
Unavailable. So at that point, he would have access to Mother. Mother just does some fuck shit. What if she's like, "Yeah, you're in charge, buddy," but not really. I got my soldier
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah.
What was Tang? Does anyone know what he was besides a creep?
Was he human
was
or
he the
not?
synth? Because I thought they were playing that he was the
He was
synth.
This is my question then.
Sam, was
think
he a
that
man, bear, or both? Like, was he the man? or the
Man, bear, pig.
I told you there's
Man,
bears
bear,
here.
pig.
Man, bear, pig.
It's always a bear.
I'm curious about what really happened aboard the Maginot, because I think that Morrow is sort of a red herring here. I'm curious as to what is going on, because he's being made out to be an obvious villain. And I just don't know that Noah Hawley or this show is going to be that straightforward with everything. Because if not, we're kind of just watching Die Hard with an alien, right? Like everyone's in the building trying to beat the alien and then get out. Like this show does seem to be doing a lot more than that, especially because they've been giving us these breadcrumbs of whatever happened on the Maginot was not all that simple. You have people getting shot. There's bullets. There's someone with blue lips that have been infected with a toxin.
Or
Tang's just
suffocated.
a fucking creep. you got the crew getting infected by, excuse me, the crew has these face huggers on them in cryo sleep. And then obviously the crash itself. Why is he not trying to control the ship? Why is the ship in what seems to be intentionally crashing into Thailand while homie's just getting into a nice little, space sleeping bag? Everything seems to be a little off. I don't know that Moro is necessarily the hero, but I don't know that he's necessarily the villain here either.
He might just be a
I
pawn.
mean, it definitely could be one or the other. Yeah. Pawn,
Jag,
Jag, you're
like you
muted.
said.
I'm curious if someone set the xenomorph off like as a side mission, or as we know, like
Dang
as
it.
soon as someone sees an egg, they're like, "Ooh!"
Let me get my face right here.
Yeah.
Um,
And something happened, and they're like, "Well, let's go put him in the cryo sleep and try to freeze it and see if that happens to stop whatever the fuck's going on
True.
when we get to Earth." Because like it's hard for me to
True.
think that scientifically and logically you would want to set that off when you don't have a better controlled environment. If you just brought back the eggs, you could set up a whole fucking facility. You could try to what was that really shitty alien predator movie with fucking homeboy where they had the whole environment?
Requiem?
Yeah, that
No.
ass movie.
Yeah.
I mean, you could set up a facility like that, is what I'm saying, for the alien. Like, it's hard for me to see how Mother would logically say, "Yeah, let's just set this shit off and see what happens."
Well, that brings up a good point, Jag. Do you think that they only captured eggs and face huggers because we saw that the face huggers were
I
suspended?
mean, they
in
clearly
the
did. We
fluid.
saw that. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Do you think that they got all stages of that life form captured, or do you think they only got like the eggs and the face huggers, and a face hugger got out, or an egg let loose a face hugger, and that's what led to the xenomorph? Or do you think they were able to capture a full-grown xenomorph and brought that bitch on ship, and that's what escaped?
No, wait. Can I
Yes,
jump in?
please.
Always, Sam.
I think that there's a lot of what we're talking about. I think there's a lot of context clues in what we've already seen happen. As the crew woke up and then had their little lunch break and then went back into cryo, we did see another crew member having a sandwich and performing experiments while everyone's falling asleep. And we also had the moment where we saw Tang, doing the, nice and pretty to the little pods as the girls were falling asleep. Love that moment.
Yeah, that was
super
weird.
creepy. But I think that based on that context of seeing someone already doing experiments, testing out, human type things, so taking a rat and putting it in with an alien, I think that we have the context clue of while everyone went to sleep, there was a level of mission for Synth or others to perform on people in the controlled environment of being on the spacecraft and within a pod, thinking what can happen in here, and then doing that test, and then everything going to shit. Because I think what they ended up doing was capturing just the eggs, because you can split open an egg and, just like any bio class, dissect until you figure out what's inside and get a face hugger to figure out what's going on. But then, of course, in order to activate it, they need to be near people. So I think what they ended up doing was having some eggs. We also saw, obviously the spaceship crashed and we've got a bunch of eggs that are now perfectly sitting in a line. How were those actually stored? Were they stored in a way that if someone entered the room, sensing the, blood pressure and sensing all of that, activated them to wake up to go and inhabit somebody else? What was that setup like? So my question is more like, how did they store all the eggs? And I think that all they'd ended up taking was eggs, because clearly, even with this really cool web netting gun that they've got, they can trap an alien, but he's still going to get out of it.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool. That's really cool to see when he
That
did
was
that.
so cool.
And then he just picked it up like it was
makes me
amazed
a
it.
wonder
bag
why
of
we don't see him
trash.
again.
Yeah.
I mean,
what the
I
hell?
think the splooge gun that you got to keep that thing on you, dude.
There we go. Keep that thing strapped on you.
Gives him a blinky.
Once again, I am petitioning for Jagger to be in charge of all naming rights
Splooge gun.
in the Alien franchise.
Also, it's like a multi-tooled weapon, so it's like it tases and then it does that.
It would make sense that the alien's
Yeah,
weakness is a splooge gun.
Or getting zapped because that grill, it's just like
Yeah.
like
I know fire.
actually-
fire.
but
kills-
here's the thing is-
hurts him.
electrical and stuff, it it doesn't puncture the skin or exoskeleton.
Right.
So it's like the ideal weapon. And this kind of reinforces at least that they didn't retcon what happened in Prometheus or Covenant, and that they fucking know something's out there, and they at least know that there's some kind of weakness to where, like, don't run up and try to stab it with a knife or something like that, you know?
Also, this, I guess this goes back to the canon theory or the canon discussion, but would this show, if they have a egg or a face hugger or a xenomorph, I guess that means they went to the same planet that David took over? So did they interact with David at all? Or how did that happen? Hang on, sorry.
Your dog disagrees. We also don't know if these creatures are also maybe found elsewhere as well. Like, we don't know how much time has passed. Like, have have other crews gone to that planet? Like, what has happened since then? Sam, I feel like you're our resident alien canon expert here. Any Yes. For those that are listening, Sam has like this cute little alien.
I have an alien
like
toy.
plush toy that just.
She sleeps
It's
with
so
it. She cuddles with it.
You guys wonder why I'm single. Sorry, what was the question?
Sam just out here on the pod going, "I'm very available." What was the question? Is it possible that, I mean, because Koff's question here is, do they go back to that planet where David was, or is this something where they're like, hey, we know of this, where else could this actually be? Or do we even need that question explained here? It kind of feels like everything from this show is just sort of just jumping past that stuff. Like, we don't need to see Bruce Wayne's parents die again.
Well, we don't need to see his parents die again. No, we don't. But also, the way that aliens spread is they need to inhabit other bodies. So I don't think it's necessarily that they just went to one place. They can do that. That is an option in terms of finding the aliens. But I also know the aliens have their own ships and they're flying around trying to go places and inhabit other places.
Wait,
as
I'm
well.
sorry.
Aliens
Do
have
the
their own-
xenomorphs
What?
have ships? Who gave
Yeah, they
them
have
licenses? I've
What are we
never seen
talking
one
about?
drive. Like, there's obviously a dude in a suit, but are they really like what?
Yes.
You talk about the
I'm
engineers?
sorry, aliens. There's an alien ship.
Okay. No, we are. Wait,
The engineers, the
what?
aliens, the xenomorphs
the
don't
engineers
fly.
are googling
do.
this as we
They have-
talk. Someone else fill time.
Here's 100% fly, because they go
Yeah.
around and they
Yeah.
sip the
They seed
fucking-
plants and shit. Yeah.
yeah.
The
they do
engineers
that.
fly, but the xenomorphs do not. The xenomorphs are basically just mindless creatures. They're-
Yeah, that's
that-
also what Google says, but it's the AI overview, so it could be lying to me on purpose.
Or it
I could be
doesn't
wrong. I'm
know.
fine with
Yeah,
being
it does.
wrong,
So Waylon Utani's already taken over. Like the homie over here asking too many
okay.
questions.
But even removing that, they're a virus. The way that they spread and the way that they grow is they have to inhabit another body. They don't inhabit more alien, like more of their exact selves. They have to inhabit other beings.
Right, they're parasitic.
Well, there's also
That's
like
how they spread. They're parasitic. Yeah, they
Yeah.
need other things to. So, theory makes sense that they would spread to not just one planet. They would be across other planets because
But-
once others visit them, then they would all go along.
Like a parasite, though, they have to have a host to attach to then travel to those other planets. They can't. It's not like they can just shoot themselves off into space. Though seemingly, if we go by Romulus, they can survive deep space being frozen. So who knows? Maybe they can. I don't know.
Well, I mean, let's
just
go
swim
back
through
to it. If
space.
you're saying that if no one here knows the events of Prometheus, I mean, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation's got to be somewhat familiar with this species if they're being told to go out and search for it and look for it. So
That's a
maybe
good
they
point.
know after the events of Prometheus that it is like this species is available or living, inhabiting other places besides that planet. Like, if we mentioned that the engineers were able to fly ships to that planet, is it possible engineers flew to other planets and this xenomorph, this species is inhabiting other places? I think it's all very possible, and these are good questions for us to have. I'm gonna sound like a dickhead here. Like, I don't know that it's germane to the story. Like, I don't know that it truly matters. Like, this is
Right.
like one of those side small questions
Yeah.
that you might find on Reddit. Like, not like a thing that
Right.
we need to get too hung up on.
It's definitely not a
Um,
central
what I do want to ask,
plot point.
yeah. What I do want to ask, though, central plot point, back to it. These hybrids, these they're basically from Hot Fuzz. Our guy, he's got child's mind.
Oh, yerp.
Yarp.
Oh yeah.
Like that's what we're looking at here. Just like indestructible adults with child minds. And I'm not gonna lie, at first I was thinking, oh, this might not work very well. I might not like this. It's essentially, it feels like Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, where they're adults just acting like kids, but they have like Terminator capabilities. And I found myself not hating it. I found myself not being upset by it. I also think it's a different dynamic that we haven't quite had, where you have something that does feel so indestructible, yet they have fear, like legit fear. They act like a kid would. We haven't seen this dynamic with the alien before.
So far, I'm
No.
only a fan of Wendy. The other kids, I don't like them yet.
Well, it's, to me, it nerfs them, because if you went in, like, again, like I think I've said that, if you went in with a team of synthetics that were as logic as Kirsch, you've got a 20-minute movie, or you got a show essentially that's just like, here's a synthetic at work, and it's just
It
blasting
adds the
humanity.
necessary wrinkle.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
So
feels better than a lot of horror movies where they have to put a kid in to make it interesting, if that makes sense.
Because it
yeah,
does.
like we avoid the Jurassic World rebirth
Yes.
thing,
Yes.
where
'Cause
you're
these-
dragging along a kid who finds a cute creature.
Right, because these kids have the adult body that can get ripped apart by a xenomorph, and you're not gonna be shocked by it because it's not a child.
I guess that is something. That is.
Oh, look at that. Cough's like, silver lining, we can kill these kids.
Finally.
Someone who gets it. Thank you, Noah Hawley. By the way, so that actually brings it up to me, is that this show is TV 14, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you guys noticed, when the violence happens, we don't actually really see it. Like, we're
Not a
not
lot.
seeing the people get ripped apart. We're not seeing the violence of it. A lot of it is happening off screen, where like
aftermath.
we're seeing the after effects, which is just like, I think that's allowed, but I think there's probably something in there. I'd have to look it up, but where we're not allowed to see the typical violence that we have seen in previous Alien films.
Though that might be a good thing, because that lends more to the horror element. Whereas we saw in the ship crash, when the I forget her name, but she was begging to get let into the mother room, and then the alien catches up to her, and like we see that attack, and it's very frenetic. So it felt less terrifying seeing that than the dinner party where you just hear it happening in the background, or even the scene with Mara, where he's looking one way and the alien's taking out everybody behind him, so you just kind of see the tail whip around and then the blood fly. So I feel like that element is better themed for a horror show like this than it is like a typical action show. So I kind of like that.
Good job enunciating
I
the
agree.
double R on horror.
Yes, horror.
Good man.
Horror.
Good man there. Sam,
Horror.
I'm gonna like interject here and we'll go back to the hybrid stuff and keep talking about that. But Sam, as someone who loves creatures and makeup and design and all that, have you been satisfied with the xenomorph here? Because I'd say maybe since the first Alien movie, this is really the first time where I'm looking at the xenomorph and I'm like, that's a dude in a suit. But it doesn't feel bad. I actually kind of like that the xenomorph is practical. Is that how you feel here?
100%. I think that this show only works when you have a perfect blend of practical effects with obvious CGI. Also, it helps a lot for the horror aspect for these actors going into it to be interacting with something real. And I think that there's so many times where you have films, shows that have something happening and there's just something missing in the actors' eyes because they're not interacting with something real. But because all of the xenomorphs, when they're in those tight shots, those are all practical effects, there is a very real sense of danger that's coming across in the scene that you wouldn't get if it was just all CGI. So I do think this blends it all very well in very tiny ways. Even down to one of the monsters we haven't talked about, the pod that's hanging from the ceiling. So that pod is just hanging there. You can have that practical effect and just have things dripping. it only happens towards the end
Don't
of the
like
second
that.
episode where you've got this little tentacle flower that comes out. That's a little CGI moment, but these people have been interacting with this thing in the space that makes it feel super real and dangerous and creepy. And what the hell is that thing?
Ragabi's in there.
But you've got that from
Oh
a
shit.
practical effect.
Did anybody else get like pinata vibes? Like I wanted to smack that thing with a stick.
Fuck no, I wanted to burn it.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's-
obviously.
No, yeah.
That's
Of
the
course.
whitest thing
Candies
you've
popping
ever
out?
said on
I
this
don't
pod,
know.
I think.
You
And
never
you've
know.
said some
Got
white
vibes.
shit, dog.
I wanted
You're
to,
like,
I wanted to hit it.
I want to flick
Just
that.
looks like
bean.
an
It's
evil space vagina, and you're like, I want to hit it with a stick. Sorry,
Yeah.
Sam.
What does this say?
Hey,
Oh my God.
I'm a scientist.
Even before we even started recording, you're like, when you see the
No.
eggs, don't you just want to kick it? I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
that's such like a 10-year-old kid thing to do. I want to hit it with a stick or I want to kick it with my foot.
and
like,
then
what
burn it
is
with
that?
fire.
Cough, you are not on my apocalypse team, dog. I'm sorry, bro.
I tell everyone this. If there's an apocalypse situation, I am one of the first wave of people going out. Like I don't want to survive that shit.
For sure.
Let
No, I'll
me
give you
die.
like
Don't
one
have to be
shot
fast. I
to
just
get-
got to be faster than you.
Yeah.
I'll push you down.
Honestly, let
You
me
are
go.
not on my
I'll push
team.
myself down. Like, oh no.
You're like, I'll take one, guys.
Fredo,
Go
Sam,
on, live.
You're cool. You're cool right now.
Yes. All right, we're in.
Vic's a doctor. He's already in. But like,
Absolutely, and we need him.
Yeah.
Oh, you kidding me?
okay.
Could be stuck at the hospital. What are you talking about?
It's the apocalypse, dog. There is
Hospital's
no
the first thing to
hospital.
go down.
Okay, so back to this. If we're talking about, I think some of the main storylines of this is obviously the corporate espionage of it all, the very obvious xenomorph fear and danger. But I think the other and maybe most curious one of all, because once again, I don't think everything is as straightforward as we think it is the hybrids, these quote lost boys that are being created on Neverland Research Island by
Hate that.
Prodigy.
Ugh.
There are a lot of things here that point to just dark, sinister stuff. And I mean, I'm curious as to what you guys think about it. I don't know if I'm quite there yet, but there are plenty of signs that point towards something kind of gross.
Nefarious?
And it's
Yeah.
the idea of finding and essentially taking these terminally ill children, turning them into hybrids. It felt a little Jedi of like taking kids that, fit the mold and like they
special.
can't go see their parents anymore. They're special. And then we hear adult minds are quote too stiff. Kid minds fit just right. That like I got the GBs just listening
Gross.
to that. And this whole idea, the synthetic bodies don't grow. There's no hormones. There's no moods. They don't get to leave Neverland Island. They don't get to see their parents or their family again.
Their family's
Naming
told they
them the Lost
die.
Boys. Yeah, like there's just a lot of weird, creepy cult shit going on here. And there was one moment in particular where you see the carving of the three monkeys, the hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil.
Mhm.
And it lent itself to me the same way that Boy Cavalier is talking about how the hybrid project is there to save humanity from AI. And it's almost like, does he not even see how fucked up this is because he's so entrenched in his own hubris? Or is he actually that dark and sinister? Because Dame Sylvie has this whole idea that we need to improve humanity. Or if not, we're just making consumers immortal, which almost feels like, and I say the
Amazon.
dichotomy of
Amazon's wet
well,
dream.
sure, whatever. I'm not talking. I'm not making it that real. I'm talking about the dichotomy here of Wayland Yutani bringing these creatures versus this guy thinking he's improving life when really, I think it's actually a lot darker and he's killing humanity with it.
I mean, I don't know how dark it is. I guess my vibe is I honestly don't think he's trying to do something sinister. I think he's trying to genuinely fix something, and I think he's just like, and I'm just not a salesman. I'm a customer. Like, because I genuinely think that dude is a synth himself, but thinks he's helping humanity so much that he's just making an omelet, and they even they joke, they mention an omelet, and he's okay cracking some eggs, and these
Mhm.
kids are the eggs essentially here. And I wouldn't be surprised if they have a more failed experiments. Like how many are down there that
that's the
didn't
thing.
work?
That's the thing
Right.
is I don't think he's doing it intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's doing it for the same reason he said. He just wants a better humanity and smarter people around to have conversations. But I think because of that, he's actually going to be the one that's in turn killing and ruining humanity.
Well, did they
I think that it's more of a complex.
outright say this
Speak
was
on
an
that.
illegal procedure, or did they just say that this was like morally?
Well, yeah, that's why it's on a fucking island where no one can know about it.
Sam, what were you saying about the complex?
Yeah.
I feel like for Boy Cavalier, he was very explicit in terms of like, well, I just want something smarter than me. There's nothing smarter than me. I am the peak. I am the pinnacle of all of these things. And I mean, we talk about hubris a lot, and we've already covered that. But I feel like there's this complex, and I inherently, did he plan on doing something more sinister with these kids? I think that's a question that we're kind of circling here, versus is he just seeing what he can do with his technology and how far he can push it, and those that he's employing are under the guise of we're helping humanity, and he's just trying to test the limits of his own intelligence and his own technology to see how far he can push things, and he doesn't care about the side effects, the consequences of just trying stuff for the sake of trying stuff. We've seen plenty of billionaires try and do things just for the sake of doing it, just to see if they could.
Trillionaire.
And I feel like
Get it right.
he's a trillionaire. So he's just got everything at his disposal. Everyone keeps calling him this boy genius, boy genius. His name is Boy Cavalier, but there is a very juvenile mindset of having no like retribution for your consequences, no idea that there's bad things that can happen, and his money puts him above that, he feels, so he doesn't even have to be held accountable for any of these things. So I don't necessarily think that it could end up being a solve of he is just this purely evil, he is just this purely juvenile in his own hubris of what he's capable of doing. And we already saw, like, there's plenty of things that these hybrids can do that he wasn't even aware that they could do. Did we build that in? I don't even know that we did that. And it's just all of these things being consequences of his actions because he just wants to be a technology explorer and see how far he can push the boundaries just to see what he can do.
This is going to be my third Jurassic Park reference. Your scientists were so concerned with what they could do, they didn't ask themselves, if they should.
If they should.
And I think that's where we're at. Like, this is a guy who is so entrenched in his own hubris. He named his fucking company Prodigy.
Yep.
And he calls himself Boy Cavalier.
Boy Cavalier.
I've struggled with that the entire time. I'm like, is
That's
this
like a self-named nickname. Like, he gave that shit to himself.
Like Vin Diesel.
Yeah,
We see
exactly.
you, Mark Sinclair. We see you, Mark Sinclair.
So I want to go back to the whole, like, children's minds are basically elastic enough for this procedure. So I wonder, obviously we don't see it moving forward in the Alien franchise, but if they were to make this the new technology, the preeminent technology, would it be something that, like, at birth they're trading the consciousness into a synth body? Or I wonder if there's a cutoff age where they have to be like, you have to integrate over by this time.
Well, let's talk about this is extremely dark, and you guys can give me, like, we can just pass over it. The thing we talked about prior to this about, like, the actual themes behind Alien itself, the R word, right? Like, I think, I think that there is something even beyond that where we're looking at when you do deal with someone that, is. I'm trying to dance around it as best as I can here. Non-consensual with children, right?
Yeah.
There's an idea that their minds are easier to manipulate. And that's where I think this might play. That's why I'm saying, like, whether Boy Cavalier is doing it on purpose or not, like, I think that's where the sinister nature of it all comes into play. And Jag, you said something that actually made me start to, like, double think all of this is, like, what if he is a hybrid himself, and he's not the first reported?
Yeah, it's like Peter Pan theme. I guess that old lady's Wendy. I guess, whatever. Yeah, or not Wendy.
What if his actually find out his actual government name was Peter?
That wouldn't surprise me.
Dude,
And then you want to go by Boy Cavalier, like go by your Xbox Live handle, I guess.
Boy Cavalier 42069.
Yeah.
Okay, so with all this in mind, there's obviously, like, there's there's so many things going on in the show after just 2 episodes. Is there a storyline or plot line that you guys find yourself to be most invested in here? Is it the corporate espionage of it all? Is it the alien canon of it all? Is it the actual xenomorphin creatures themselves? Is it the hybrids? So what is it for you guys? Koff, I'll start with you. What is it for you guys that you're like
I
locked in
am
on?
fascinated by Morrow. I want to know more about him. I want to know what his deal is. Is he actually just a cyborg, or is he a synth? Like he mentions when he zip ties those two guys, Guy Talk, R.I.P. To the pole, and he's like,
R.I.P.
where is Boy Cavalier? So is he on a mission to go assassinate Boy Cavalier? Is he trying to get the alien and say, like, what is happening with that? So that to me is the most fascinating part of the show so far.
Sam, what about you?
I think it's a combo for me. First and foremost, I am just so excited to learn more and see more of the specimens that this ship has already gotten. We've seen several. There's plenty of boxes and containers on this ship that are just showing foggy little tentacles and different things. What else is there on this ship? What else are we going to be privy to? Super excited for just building the world. The other part that I'm excited about, that I immediately jumped on IMDb to go to the actors pages to see how many episodes that they're in, was and I'm curious to see how this story builds from this Peter Pan background of Wendy with her brother, and she's trying to save him. At the beginning of the show, she's the one in danger of dying because of her illness, but it feels like she's going to be trying to save him continuously because he is just human. She is a hybrid, and she has just idolized this relationship with her brother she's never gotten to have or continue, and she wants to bring that back. So I'm really curious to see how their relationship continues to go through as the series goes, because obviously everything is going to be in their way to keep killing off this brother, because anytime he just looks down at a pod, I'm like, he is going to end up dead this next episode. But I already looked. The actor's listed for 7 episodes, so
Wow.
That's
not dying
cheating,
yet.
Sam. That's cheating.
Sam,
That could also be
I was too
flashback,
excited.
Sam.
that's a
Spoiler show. This is a spoiler show. This is a safe space for me.
I respect Sam because
Spoiler
I
within a
also live in
spoiler.
IMDb. It's like discover you speak more and more my language today. I think for me, it's always Ghost in the Shell story. Like I'm just fascinated because
That's 2, Jagger.
okay.
That's 2 so far.
Okay, well, we're
Letting
wrapping
you
it
know.
up. So
We're gonna keep. What's the number for this whole series? What are we gonna put the line at?
if it's 2 per
Or-
episode and we extrapolate that
rough.
data,
That's rough.
It's like 14.
I'm just saying I'm curious to see how the cyborgs and hybrids either get worked into this synth like software or whatever, or get phased out, because we obviously know that Wayland Utani wins. So this seems
Yeah.
to be it seems to be
Well-
more and more as we as we understand how corporations work, that it is a Russian doll, where they keep eating each other. So how does this work into it, and how does that plot line follow? It's a little bit what Sam said. It's like, how long is she going to keep this childlike humanity in here with her brother? I guess where I'm at, like, whereas Sam likes the light, I'm always curious about the dark spots.
So I know we can't definitively say that Wayland Utah is the only one that wins because we've only seen them in the future movies. Just because the other companies aren't referenced in the other movies doesn't mean they're not around. New canon going forward could include them. Just point of clarification.
True.
Sure. It just feels weird that they are never mentioned. I'm still leaning into like the this is where Wayland Utani establishes its dominance over every other
We are
corporation.
Groot.
Yeah, and becomes a monopoly of sorts. Like we see that later, which by the way, I thought it was a cool callback where her brother Joe like can't get off his work order, and it felt very similar to Romulus when
Yeah.
our main character there is trying to leave and they can't. And we appreciate you though. The company cares about
Yeah.
you. Like it feels like we're
Like, by
getting
and
closer and
large.
closer to that. I don't have anything else to add there. I think you guys did a great job, like looking at each of these storylines. I'm kind of equally invested in all of them. I think the one where I do have the most curiosity though is with Morrow and like how we got to this point from the USCSS Maginot. Like what the hell happened there? Because I think that's just where my curiosity remains piqued. Guys, this was a great episode. We are going to be back again next week to do this again. Every Wednesday, we're going to be here talking about Alien Earth. Sam's going to bring her cool plushie toy. So if you want to catch these episodes earlier, they're always going to be on YouTube on Wednesday. On the podcast version, they will be up Thursday morning. So if you want to get there a little bit quicker, a little more exclusive, make sure you head on over to YouTube and subscribe over there. As always, I want to thank everybody for watching or listening all the way through. For myself, for Jag, for Sam, for Koff, and for the Xenomorph. I'll see you next time. Adios.